Do you absolutely dread possible interactions with people because you're so worried you might blush or come across as so awkward when making eye contact, or just tremble with fear? And it's to the point where you're so worried these physical symptoms might come up that you start avoiding interactions with people at all costs. Well, in this video, I want to talk about how to overcome this fear of these physical symptoms of social anxiety disorder getting triggered and you showing these physical symptoms in your interactions. Because until you overcome this fear of showing your symptoms, it's going to be impossible for you to fully experience life as you should. All right, so stick around and let's get into it. All right, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruben, and I used to suffer from social anxiety disorder. I was able to fully overcome it a few years ago, and now I help other men fully overcome it as well. Now, going back to this fear of showing your physical symptoms, to the point where it's just, it becomes an almost overlaying kind of paranoia that you feel throughout your day, because you're so worried that you might interact with somebody and then boom, these physical symptoms are going to pop up. Now, I used to really struggle with this. I used to really struggle with eye contact and trembling. You know, I would obviously, the blushing, I wasn't really at risk for showing like a red face, but I did have the internal feelings that come up when somebody blushes. So instead of completely blushing, what I would do is my voice would get shaky. I start trembling with fear, and I wouldn't be able to make eye contact, and I would you would see that I got extremely nervous and panicked, just completely like losing control and going into extreme fight or flight. And I just grew extremely paranoid of interactions with people because I knew my voice was so shaky. My voice was gonna shake. I knew it was gonna shake. And I knew that as soon as it started shaking, I would get paranoid. I would start looking at everybody in the conversation to see if they noticed, and you know, to see if they were judging me and laughing at me, that type of thing. Just super paranoid. Now, if you want to learn more about my story, I wrote an ebook, and it goes further into my story and my struggle with social anxiety disorder. It talks about everything I tried, everything I went through, the ups and downs, and then finally stumbling on what I really needed to unlock to overcome social anxiety disorder. And it'll help you understand on a deep level what you need to unlock for yourself to fully overcome this thing for yourself. So you can download that and read it for free. Now, how do you get over this fear of showing physical symptoms? And the key here is that you want to get used to showing some emotions, or making your statements, speaking with a little bit of emotion behind everything you're saying. And the key is because when you have social anxiety disorder, your emotions are just completely locked up and suppressed in your unconscious. And that's what the fear comes. That's when the fear comes, because the fear is that whatever's locked away in your unconscious mind is just gonna come flooding through in your interactions, and you're gonna upset people, you're gonna come across as a certain way, and that can lead to a lot of shame as well. And so a good analogy for this is picture your emotions are like a river, and they're constantly flowing, right? This is every human being. Our emotions are flowing through us every moment of the day. There is not one moment where they're not flowing through us. It's whether you're aware of it or not, they are driving us, they're driving our behavior, and they're driving our thoughts. And so as you go deeper into the deeper waters of the river, you lose your balance, right? So these emotions, you go into the further end of the river, you go into the deep waters, and you lose it. You're completely caught in the currents, and these emotions are just taking you over, right? You're trembling, you're blushing, you can't make eye contact. You're in just so much fear that these emotions have just took over you, and you lost yourself in the current. The other person isn't gonna jump in and save you, right? You're in some dangerous waters. They're not gonna jump in and save you. And they're just gonna see you float on by at a distance, right? They're gonna be more worried about keeping themselves safe and not getting themselves into a situation. It sounds a little harsh, but unless it's like like a crazy like lifeguard, like amazing swimmer who knows how to navigate those waters, they're not gonna dive in for you. Now picture you move over to the shallow end. So you're standing and the river's flowing right below your waist. Now your emotions are flowing below your waist. You see that other person you're interacting with, and now you can reach down and just take a handful of the river and splash that person with it, with that emotion. Just a little bit. Splash the person. Maybe they said something that made you angry. Splash just a little bit, but you're back, you're grounded, right? Let's say they said something that made you a little bit fearful. They reminded you of something traumatic you went through in the past. Bam, you take a handful, splash them, and they get splashed, and they get the picture, right? They learn what you're about. They learn about your life experience, your emotions. They feel the emotions, right? Because you're nervous. As soon as you come into contact with somebody, your nervous systems are locked up. Your emotions your state that you're transmitting out, they pick it up automatically just by virtue of us being human beings. That's how we work. That's how our nervous systems work. When they get splashed just a little bit with your emotions, they respond more empathetically, more compassionately, because you're not flooding their system with the emotions, right? Whereas if you're in the deep end and you're completely lost control and you're just lost in your emotions, fear, trembling, anger, whatever it is, people will not want to engage in that, right? They're gonna shift into protecting themselves because it makes them so uncomfortable. And that's the key here, that's the way out. The only way to overcome this fear of showing these physical symptoms is by feeling what you're feeling all day, all the time. No exceptions. There's absolutely no exception to this rule. Feel what you're feeling all the time. Know what it feels like in your body, the physical sensations, the change in your physiology. Know what it feels like to feel those emotions. You cannot keep completely suppressing them and locking them away, compartmentalized in another area in your unconscious mind. Because if you continue to do so, there's always going to be a fear that those compartmentalized emotions are going to come flooding through in your interactions. You'll start to blush, you'll start to lose eye contact, you'll start to tremble with fear, and therefore you will be avoiding interactions, avoiding life, and that's not a good place to be. So if this message resonates with you and you need a little bit more help with really revealing and unlocking those unconscious emotions, what you can do is join my private Facebook group. We got an amazing group of guys in there. They're supporting each other and they are getting really real. They're not telling each other to just man up or just face your fears. No bullshit like that. They are in there, they're supporting each other, and they are holding space for each other and sharing their experiences, their strengths, and their hope. So I'll link that below the video. You're more than welcome to join the group. Now, if you want some more help with this and you are really fearing, overwhelmed by the possibility of these unconscious emotions flooding your interactions all the time, then what I've done is I've created some free training for you. And what it'll do is show you that system of how we access these unconscious emotions and then how we start to process them, reprocess them, unlock them so they're flowing through you all day and they are not taking over and driving your behavior. They are informing you and giving you more meaningful interactions and more meaning to your life. So I'll link that below the video. Be sure to check out that free training. It's going to help you really unlock those emotions so you can fully experience life again. All right, so I hope that helps and I will talk to you later. All right, peace.